We're doing it live.
Dante Greco.
Dante is a really smart guy.
Ladies love Dante. He's not got his hair. Look at that face. What's your name, Casey?
Dante Greco.
Dante was me, yours truly.
I'm gonna come.
We all are, because today we're joined by special guest. He's been here before, worked with me at TMZ for 10 years. Joe Andaloro, master of media, interviewer extraordinaire. Welcome back to the show, Joe.
Oh, it's an honor and a privilege to be here on one of my favorite YouTube programs, the Dante Greco Show. It's been a good run you've had, man. I've enjoyed the content you're pumping out, man. I really do. It's a privilege to be here, bud.
It's the biggest show in America, Joe. Everyone talks about it. 1,800 subscribers. I mean, the amount of money that I'm making from this show is just astronomical. You wouldn't believe it.
Hey, man, you've come a long way, baby.
That's right.
Yep.
That's
I
right.
mean, you're monetized.
That's right. So a lot going on. Listen, there's no better time to do an Oscars recap than more than 48 hours after it happened, and no one cares about it. But I didn't have a chance to do one yesterday, and thank God you're here to do it with me today. It'll keep it more interesting than it would have been. So we're going to do that. We're going to talk about Bryan Kohberger, the accused quadruple murderer in Idaho, and his life behind bars. Some of the inmates are talking. And we're also going to talk about Alec Baldwin at a victory because I think the DA had to step down. Don't quote me on her position, but she stepped down. And then, we're just going to riff, share some TMZ stories, whatever comes up. We're going to have a great time.
Sounds good.
All right, let's start with, screw it. Let's start with the Oscars. Why not? You know what? Because the clock is ticking. Every minute that goes by that we don't talk about the Oscars, they get less and less relevant. Remember, when we were at TMZ, if we asked a question about the Oscars, like even the next day, it would be a problem because people just don't care anymore. Like you really got to get this shit done the same night, but whatever. What'd you think?
Well, I agree with that. I mean, the news cycle is too fast. I mean, if we were, still in paperboy era, like we'd have plenty of time. We'd have a whole week, 2 weeks to talk about this. However, like minutes or, hours, it just goes by fast. So you're right. It was bizarre. It was a bizarre show. I actually from what I watched, I enjoyed it more so than I have before. The ceremony itself, I thought was enjoyable. I don't know if it was because of COVID. We're back and movies, people are back in theaters. That's exciting. I really didn't see many of the films that were nominated, but I look forward to seeing them. Did
you make it through everything everywhere all at once?
No, but my girlfriend and I are going to watch it ASAP.
Okay.
I do. Did you see it?
I saw about half of it. I don't know if you've seen like previews and ads for it, right?
No, I actually haven't. No.
All right. Well,
but yeah.
Sorry to the audience. I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want to ruin it for Joe. But yeah, that's Michelle Yeoh. She won. That's the one that swept all the major awards.
So. I don't care. I'm not Andrew Capichetti the spoilers bother. Well, actually, he's the one that always gives spoilers, but I really don't care that much about spoilers, to be honest. So it's okay. You could give away some, but I did want to ask about that film. Was Brendan Fraser's reference to the multiverse, was that a reference to Everything Everywhere as it is?
I think it is, but I couldn't tell with Brendan Fraser. He seems to have like totally taken himself out of modern culture. He's taken himself too far, with his to me, he's putting on a bit of an act because there's no way he could be the Brendan Fraser of 20 years ago. And now he's like coming out here like, I don't know, James Lipton or something. Like he's like a serious, just like way too measured and like, this just must be what the most.
Yeah. And I've heard your theory on him before, and I thought it was interesting because I did not understand what's going on. Like
Yeah.
He acts like he's been exiled or just working at Trader Joe's, like the guy from the Cosby Show,
Right.
but he hasn't. Like I would take his career, I would just take the one film that he did, Encino Man, because then you can go to Comic-Con and just like live off that one character.
Yeah.
But he acts like he's not like he was like the equivalent of The Rock back in the late 90s. He was in every movie and he was a mega A-list star, but he
He
acts
was
like he's been
huge. And he was
shoveling shit for 20 years.
no, listen, and he did this movie, which I thought he was very good in. And no, it wasn't a movie; it was a television series, Trust, about the Getty heir that was kidnapped. He was very good in that, and that was only 5 years ago. Like everyone is acting like Brendan Fraser was cast out of Hollywood. Now, what happened to him? I don't know the specifics of the indecent assault that occurred to him, but it was something at the Golden Globes with an executive, pawing him. And so it affected him deeply. That's fine. It's just he comes in like he's totally, is this the multiverse? Like, I don't know what he's talking about. He's talking about the metaverse, or is he talking about everything everywhere all at once? And honestly, I don't want to be rude, but God damn it. Could somebody fix his hair? Get him a hair system, get him a weave, get him a top hat. He looks like a top hat and monocle kind of guy now, and he acts like one. So it bothered me a lot. Not that I was rooting against him, but
Right. The hair, obviously there's some filler in there, either Kabuki or Topic, where they pour, it's good stage. Like I was on set with Jamie Kennedy. I was his stand-in, and this was back in 2010. And Jamie Kennedy has no hairline. He has very similar hairline to Brendan Fraser, because weed will do that, people. Weed. If you smoke weed every single day, your follicles, look at Snoop Dogg. You know what I mean? The dude's bald, but
wow.
but
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it does. It has something to do with, your hair follicles, but marijuana long-term use will make your hair thin. But I'm not saying like, but this looks like, with Jamie Kennedy, they would just douse it with this powder, which is like Kabuki or Topic, but he definitely has a lot of that going on, and it translates a little better on film than it does in real life. But in real life, it looks like John Cryer's hair. Same thing. It's like there's nothing there. There's a little fuzz, but there's not much with implants. I guess there's not enough donor area back here for the guy to get proper plugs like Elon Musk.
Listen, if he wants to look like that in a normal day, go ahead. But for the Oscars, just add a little something to it. You know what I mean? I'm trying to pull up a picture of him at the Oscars so we could see, so people don't think I'm just an asshole. But
well, it looks like he's definitely, I'll give him this. He's lost weight since the movie.
Yeah. For sure. I did not see that one. It looked depressing. I couldn't get around to it. It happens a lot with the movies that are the Oscar fare these days. Whoops, I lost you. I haven't been able to do it. And Everything Everywhere All at Once, I tried to watch. It's just a lot going on. It's like a lot of activity. It was too much. It was very hard to sit through all the way at once. And I never picked it up again.
Yeah, obesity is an issue that I have trouble watching. Like even I was affected permanently by What's Eating Gilbert Grape. Remember when the mom passed away and they had to like lift her out of the house with a crane? I still, traumatized from that. So, yeah, I don't like seeing morbidly obese things. It's just it's sad because it's a real affliction, and it's tough. It looks well done for what they did, but I think I'm good.
I think I was probably rooting for Austin Butler for Elvis. I did see that one. I know a lot of people are divided about the film itself, but I found it was entertaining and moved quickly. And I think, honestly, sticking with the accent all the way through probably cost him, because it became very cringeworthy and it became a joke. And I've talked about this a few times. And I was looking to find an interview of him post Oscars to see if he was still doing it, because my theory was he would finally be released from whatever voodoo spell that he cast himself under to take the role on. It would finally be like and he'd go back to talking like this, but he lost, and who knows, man, he's stuck with it now forever. I don't know, but I really think people started to just laugh about that when he would show up at award show and he would win, like at the BAFTAs or whatever. And he just keeps getting up there like this,
Yeah, I mean, it literally became a punchline. Jimmy Kimmel, it was one of his jokes. It was one of the main jokes of his opening monologue was the voice thing. So yeah, it became a bit of a joke.
I'm not the biggest Jimmy Kimmel fan, but I liked his monologue. I thought he walked the line between, I think Hollywood is sick of being made fun of at award shows. And so he came in there and he included people, but he didn't really throw any haymakers at anybody. But it worked. It was still humorous.
Yeah, it's the same people hosting every time. I mean, next year it'll be Trevor Noah, then it'll be Jimmy Kimmel again, and then it'll be Noah Kimmel. I mean, Billy Crystal did it a lot when I was growing up. I remember him being a host frequently, but I don't know, how many times has Kimmel hosted it? I mean, at least
I think
4 or 5. Yeah, 3,
maybe 4 or 5. Yeah, I mean, he's also he's ABC's guy. Now, speaking of that was so weird. Although I do actually, just to finish up on the host, way better than Gerard Carmichael from the Golden Globes. I understand he had to go there and chastise the Golden Globes about globes so white or whatever, but that was the worst hosting I've ever seen. It just wasn't funny.
Yeah, it was pretty pathetic.
So it definitely blew that away. I didn't like that Disney, owners of ABC, who were putting on the telecast, decided to crowbar in a preview for The Little Mermaid in the middle of the Oscars. You see that?
Yeah, it was there was a lot of publicity about that. It was an advertisement for the film. Yeah, I did see that.
I know it's just the Oscars and who cares, but it cheapens it a little bit. The Oscars is do that shit at the Golden Globes. The Oscars is supposed to still be the most refined award show. You don't come here. This isn't the People's Choice Awards. You come out and be like, we're so excited for you to see The Little Mermaid. What the fuck? That was never even nominated for an Oscar in the first place. As far as I know.
But it might be, you're right, for this next year because it's not released yet, right?
Oh, they're going to push for it for sure. But
yeah.
Have it premiere in the middle of, have it be a commercial.
A commercial, not during the show itself. I agree.
Yeah. Presenters, and especially because it's not fair. No other studio is getting a preview.
That's true.
Rub me the wrong way. All right. I made some notes here about it. Oh, by the way, you know what? Also with Kimmel, and even with the people accepting awards, not too political this year.
It wasn't. There was a few, but
Couple.
but not over the top like it has been the last 3 or 4 since Trump's campaign, I guess. Yeah, the last 7 years.
Yeah. I think everyone needed.
Yeah, it was refreshing. It got me a little bit back into having interest in watching these films. I want to see some of these movies.
Yeah, I think it was the right move to not allow Zelensky to hijack the award show and make a speech.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think we're good on the Zelensky.
Yeah, no offense. We're also
no offense.
We don't want more people to die over there, but leave the award shows alone.
Yeah, work on the politics. There's not much more Hollywood can do at this point.
Yeah.
Work on your political affairs and, the world climate and the war, but address the Putin issue. But he's an actor at the end of the day, too. I mean, he's like the Reagan of Ukraine.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm surprised he didn't fly over here and then make an appearance at the Vanity Fair party.
Right. Well, he's probably shooting a movie and it'll,
I said that too. I said, listen, you want to speak at the Oscars? You should have been making a documentary this whole last year. You definitely would have won because that Navalny movie won because it was anti-Putin. So it definitely, and we're also anti-Putin here on this show, but you just recognize trends.
You do an opportunistic mentality, let's focus on, all quiet on the Western Front instead of all, fun and gay, whatever. I don't know, whatever he's shooting right there. He's probably filming something. I'm sure there's a documentary film crew following him around and there's going to be something released, within the next 6 months.
Yeah, it wasn't too political, except Kimmel had the one joke about January 6th, but it was funny because it was kind of true. I don't know if you heard it. Something about editors can take a violent riot at the Capitol and cut it into a polite sightseeing tour or something.
Hmm.
You know, I like that. That wasn't too bad. Sarah Polley, she won for best adapted screenplay. She tried to force the virtue signaling a little bit too much. Her movie was called Women Talking. And so she gets up and is like, thank you to the Academy for not being morbidly offended by the words women and talking in the same sentence. Like, whoa, this ain't 2015. Like, you know,
Right.
we've already moved past that. Don't force it.
Way past it.
Do
Yeah.
not force it. You know what I was wondering, and maybe it's inappropriate to think, but are the Oscars a particularly hard night for Harvey Weinstein when he's in jail? Because this was his night, and I don't sympathize with him at all, but he's got to be sitting there. I don't know if he's still in LA. You know, he was sentenced recently, or if they flew him back to New York to finish that first, but it's got to be tough on him, and I hope it is.
Is it tough on the people who kind of helped, you know, procure his, you know, appetite for sex? You know, I mean, I'm sure they're still lingering at the Vanity Fair party and in the wings. But yeah, I mean, it's got to be. I mean, that's one of the biggest falls from grace besides Kanye. You know, in the last 20 years, you know, Weinstein was Hollywood's man. You know,
I'm glad he's gone. He rigged way too many award shows. The Spielberg loss, Saving Private Ryan loss in '98 to Shakespeare in Love, one of the all-time travesties. Should have given him an additional 5 years just for that. It's horrible. So I'm glad that he's gone. Seems that A24, the studio that produced Everything Everywhere All at Once and The Whale, it has the new monopoly. I don't know who's running that, but they are the ones. They were the first studio to win all the major acting awards, or all the acting awards. What am I saying? There's only 4 of them anyway. So
yeah, it seems like a great studio. You want to see new films that have good, you know, like societal topics that actually, you know, people can relate to. So, you know, instead of, you know, we're going away from I think, are we going away from the Marvel? Like,
I hope so.
You know, are we, did Wakanda Forever win any awards?
I think it won best costume design, but yeah, no, Wakanda Forever. The Oscars, they should have at least given it to Rihanna, because now if they're gonna find themselves right back in the muck next year. You know,
right, yeah.
they got to be
like
careful.
They were like in 2016.
Yeah, exactly.
He had Al Sharpton. I remember covering Al Sharpton protesting at the 2016 award show. You know, because he was livid about
the Oscars
lack of representation.
Yeah,
yeah.
They messed up. Who'd they give it to again?
But 2020 really made up for that a little bit, didn't it? Like 2020 was very.
Yeah, I mean, look, occasionally the Oscars need a good smack to remind them, hey, you know, you gotta, because there is something to it. We do know that most of the Oscar voters are older and whiter, but more so, they don't watch all the movies. They kind of just watch what they're interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't see John Williams sitting down to watch Wakanda Forever and then giving it like a legitimate vote.
Right.
I just don't. And I bet a lot of the Oscar voters are like that. So occasionally they do need to be like, hey, you know, remember.
Is John Williams the composer?
The composer, the 90-year-old composer who lost.
And I thought that joke was pretty bad. He's like, I think Kimmel said he's been nominated 53 times and he's only won like 12. That's not too good. Like, it was like, nah, I don't know, man. It's pretty good still. But
yeah, you know. Yeah. I think he's won 5 times.
But, okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's the best composer in film history. Clearly, the amount of memorable scores that one man has put out is just unrivaled.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did want to ask about that woman wearing the head. What did you think about the woman wearing the headdress that covered the view of people behind her?
Thames.
You know, Thames.
Totally obnoxious. I don't know if she wanted that or if the designer screwed her a little bit by not giving her the ability to take that off. You know, because like you're not gonna like take that off and then take the entire dress off. She kind of just has to go with it. So I'd like to hear from her, but horribly rude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I called it ridiculous on TikTok. I just took a little TikTok video of it just to see if it would trend, and it did. And I just called it ridiculous, and I'm getting drugged through the mud
Yeah.
on TikTok for saying that. And I didn't say she didn't look beautiful. It was a very graceful gown if you're on the red carpet. And yes, if you can remove for the people behind you that want to see the freaking show.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeez, it's like going, I don't know. And I just because I called it ridiculous, people are calling me ridiculous. I was like, okay.
Oh God. Yeah.
Thames is beloved.
Look, that's like you see it in the audience and you think like, oh, there must be a bit coming. Like, because there's no way someone would just be sitting in the audience with something blocking the view like that.
Exactly.
I wonder who was sitting behind her. I'd love to see if there were any stars. I saw that Florence Pugh was one row ahead of her, so she lucked out. But
there was an Asian lady trying to peek over her the whole time. You could see her, and I made a comment. Yeah, I was like,
yeah, and even her date, I think it was her date who was sitting right next to her, had to like keep sitting to the side because there's like a fucking
Well, I mean, they go there for that attention. I mean, that's what it was an attention seeking.
Speaking of that, is Jessica Chastain immunocompromised? I mean, what's with the mask? She's still the only person in the audience wearing a mask. And is that another attention thing? It's gotta be.
I guess. I mean, COVID phobia. I don't know.
John Williams wasn't wearing no mask, Joe.
I know. Yeah. I mean, I didn't see that, but
let me show you. So I'm sorry, I cut you off. What were you gonna say?
No, it's all good. No, I'm looking now. There's stories on Daily Mail. She's praised by social media users for being one of the only celebrities wearing a mask while sitting indoors at the 2023 Oscars. So I mean, Daily Mail's on her side. She's being widely praised.
For what? Stop it.
Yeah.
The president said it's over.
I'd like to touch on Hugh Grant's interview with Ashley Graham.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. Let me find that so we can play it.
I think he was a little there was two things that triggered him. I think he was over. I think he's just over the glam and the Vanity Fair, as he called it.
Yeah.
And what he sees as stupidity, right?
Yeah.
Like, this idiocracy we're living in. I think that he's from an era or, a class of people that has a little more,
I mean, first of all, he hates everybody. Like he's notoriously a hater of like media and people. I mean, I've seen interviews with him. I've seen I even watched some like paparazzi video once with him where he's like comes up to the pap who's filming him. He's like, come here.
He's got to be the
most.
That's got to be the most, just arrogant way to go about after people remember you more for the prostitution scandal than anything else. There's no other film that, it's pretty arrogant to walk around Hollywood like this. Have a little humility after, try to get past that. Because if you're Ashley Graham, are you thinking, should I just bring up the prostitution thing right now?
Unfortunately, I don't think she even knows about it.
Yeah.
She does. I can't fully blame him. She does seem to not. She's a little out of it. Let's watch it real quick, and then we can.
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right.
Hugh Grant, you are a veteran of the Oscars, and you've been here a few times. What's your favorite thing about coming to the Oscars?
Well, it's fascinating. The whole of humanity is here. It's Vanity Fair.
Oh, it's all about Vanity Fair. Yes, that's where we let loose and have a little bit of fun. What are you most excited to see tonight?
Okay, so
you saw his face, right?
So did you see when he said it's the whole of when it's Vanity Fair? He looks down at her midriff, right?
Yeah,
and he looks up at her like you're one of them, and then she doesn't get the joke about Vanity Fair. She thinks he's talking about the party,
right?
Oh yeah, Vanity Fair, the party. That's where you're gonna go have fun. And he's talking about the whole thing being a Vanity Fair.
Right. And
So
in
then
the
he's
book.
done. Then
But
he's
then,
done.
but Lily, watch his face closely because he looks at her for a second after she misses it, and then he goes, like he's gobsmacked by
Yeah.
what she says.
Nice.
Exactly.
To see.
Yeah, well, I know that you probably watched a few of the movies. Are you can have a little bit of fun? Fair, yes. Oh, it's all about Vanity Fair. Yes, that's where we let loose and have a little bit of fun. What are you most excited to see tonight?
Right there. Yep. Right
He's
there.
like,
Are you
"What?
serious?
Are you kidding me?
You're talking about the freaking party.
I stripped it all you.
Well, I know that you probably watched a few of the movies. Are you excited to see anybody win? Do you have your hopes up for anyone?
No one in particular.
Okay, well, what are you wearing tonight then?
Just my suit.
Your suit? What made your suit? You didn't make it.
I can't remember my tailor.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Shout out to the tailor.
Yeah.
So tell me, what does it feel like to be in Glass Onion? It was such an amazing film. I really loved it. I love a thriller. How fun is it to shoot something like that?
Well, I'm barely in it. I'm in it for about 3 seconds.
Yeah, but still, you showed up and you had fun, right?
Almost.
Okay, all right. Okay. Well, thank you so much. It was nice to talk to you.
Yeah.
All right, back to you guys.
I am here with
Oh man, like on the one hand, I like that he did that because it was funnier, more interesting than any other interview. It's the only interview from the Oscars that made any news.
Right.
But I do sympathize with her as an interviewer.
Question is though, I thought she was this kind of A-list model. What's she doing being reduced to a red carpet interviewer?
Oh, they do all the A-list models. They'd have no reason to be there. They put them to work.
Yeah.
But I sympathize with her in that we've been in that situation, especially when we had to go cover some red carpets, which I had to do, which is like not our thing. We're supposed to be outside of a restaurant or a store or whatever, getting an interview impromptu, unplanned. They would send us to red carpets sometimes, and it was terrible because they'll just kick you right off the red carpet if you start asking anything interesting. So you do have to stand there and be like, what are you looking forward to tonight? Who are you wearing? All that stuff, like all, because you got a publicist standing right off camera, white knuckling it just in case you say anything at all. They're going to come up and be like, okay, thanks, or like tap you on the shoulder. So I sympathize with that Ashley Graham there, but still.
Yeah. And there's already this air of kind of neuroticism from the publicists when they see TMZs on the red carpet because they're like, oh, TMZ out of all these, I thought we were going to get softballs here.
Right. And it's like, no, you are today.
Yeah.
But
yep.
I liked it.
But they would never like the red. If you did work a red carpet thing, they would encourage us to pull them off to the side and make it look like we weren't at the red carpet.
Oh, yeah.
They would be like, can you pull them off and get them away from the banner behind you, the red carpet kind of advertisements in the background?
Yeah. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's no red carpet here.
I do like Hugh Grant as an actor. I saw him in that one series with Nicole Kidman. Did you see that? It was like an 8.
Oh, yeah.
What's that called? What's that called? Something like, it was one word.
Grant. Yeah, I love that series.
It was phenomenal. It was a great series. The Undoing. Incredible series. Psychological thriller.
He was great. She was great. That was the first time I really watched Nicole Kidman and thought like, wow, she really is good. I don't think she had a bad, there's not one false note in that entire show.
She's an incredible actress. She gets a lot of flack, but she was drugged through the mud too on social media for looking pretty emaciated at this one. And also looking kind of, I don't know, people just thought she was under the influence of something. And there's a video with her and Kristen Stewart that's kind of catching. I don't know if you saw that one.
No.
Yeah, Kristen Stewart and Nicole Kidman, their video together. That interaction's a little bizarre.
Let's see here. Is this with Marianne Cotillard at the Chanel Oscars after party?
It might be. I don't remember seeing Marianne Cotillard, but
I saw her when I was years ago when I was working at this valet company. In between working for the Peace Corps, I was home from working for the Peace Corps, feeding starving African children, and I was working a valet job for the summer, and I happened to work the Oscars after party the night Marianne Cotillard won, and she came up with her Oscar. It was very shiny. This was at Prince's house, by the way. Prince rented out a huge mansion in Beverly Park, which is the enclave where Denzel and Samuel L. and all the richest of the rich live. Private community. Michael Jordan, Stephen A. Smith, all the biggest names.
Stephen A. Well, I mean, he's got more money than God right now. Yeah.
No, it was a great party.
Stephen A. Smith, was he there?
He was there.
That was
He was
funny.
there.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was she won for Le'Veon Rose, right?
Yeah. I tried to talk sports with him, but he gave me his low key. He gave me Stephen B. Smith that night.
Man.
I was like, "How about those Lakers, huh?" And he's like, "Well, you know,
yeah, he's tough.
Just had to play the game." Like,
yeah, I tried to butter him up at LAX once. He wouldn't do it because he always. I was listening to his podcast prior to getting him, and he would do this commercial for Indochino suits, and I said, "Hey, man, that Indochino suit is looking great, bro." Like that. Like he didn't. It was like I thought I'd get him with the Indochino plug.
That's weird. You know where I tried to get him, and he didn't like it for TMZ. I was at the Mayweather-McGregor fight, leaving the presser, and I don't know if you remember this presser, but McGregor was standing in just his underwear, getting it was the weigh-in. He's getting weighed in his underwear, and like I don't know if he put a sausage or a zucchini in his pants. Something was in his pants, bobbing up and down.
Stephen A.
No.
Oh, Conor
McGregor.
Okay.
McGregor, yeah.
Jeez.
So that I thought like, oh wow, we're going to be talking about this. Like, what the hell's going on here? So when Stephen A. came out, I tried to be like, Stephen A. man, what'd you think about McGregor's crotch? He's like, no, I'm not talking about no crotch. I'm not talking about another man's crotch.
Yeah. Well, he's coming out talking about
Indochino suits.
He's made a lot of perverted comments on air. Like, you know, he gets away with it. Yeah. Like LeVar Ball doesn't. LeVar Ball's banned from ESPN, but Stephen A. can sit up there and talk about all his sexual exploits in every city. He talks about it freely, like, "Oh, I'm not going to get married. I'm not married right now because you know what it's like being single. I'm on the road all." I'm like, "All right, bro."
Yeah,
and
LeVar got banned because he made the mistake. He like insulted Molly Karim, I think, right? Or one of the women on on ESPN. He was like,
"Yeah, he just said something. She said something. He said you can do that anytime you want, whatever." It was pretty playful. LeVar Ball is a sweetheart, like one of the nicest guys. You know, like portrayed as some kind of demon, and he's super nice. Like
he used to annoy me from afar, but when I interviewed him, he was always really cool.
Really cool. Well, all he did was talk up his kids. You know, my dad never talked me up like that. I wish my dad would have been like, "My son is the best thing in the world," and then it like they had a meteoric rise to fame. Also,
yeah. No, I mean that's the other thing. You can't like they all pretty much got into the NBA except for LiAngelo. He got in even on a 10-day, but so you can't take it away from him. You gotta,
and he's pushing Bentleys. LiAngelo, who does he care?
Right. That's right. All right, let's look at Nicole Kidman and Kristen Stewart sharing a passionate hug at the Chanel after party.
Yeah, I miss Kristen Stewart from Into the Wild. I don't know if you remember that movie. That's the Kristen Stewart I liked.
Yeah, I mean, like, who knew they're such good friends, right? Does anything else happen here?
Well, we know what happened to Richard Simmons' outfit. We don't know where Richard Simmons is, but his clothes are on Kristen Stewart.
Oh, I miss Richard Simmons. Every Saturday, I knew if I needed a shot, I guess
he died. He died, right? He did.
No, he's still alive.
He's alive. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but he just disappeared from the public eye like
right.
8 years ago. But every Saturday back in like 2012, I could go to Slimmen's, which was in Beverly Hills. It was on, well, it doesn't matter where exactly it was because most people watching this have no idea, but it was his workout dance studio. And you can
Okay.
go there on a Saturday morning, and he would always be there, and he would come out and he would give a big show. Like he tried to kiss me on camera once and told me I could come work out there anytime. It wasn't the kind of working out I wanted to do, but it was always fun interviewing Richard, and then he disappeared. So,
He's as straight as an arrow, that guy.
yeah. And then he
But
reappeared.
that's
as
pretty
Kristen
cool, though.
Stewart
I
right
mean,
here.
hey, man, Richard Simmons is a legend. You had that experience. That is pretty cool. And I guess did you get some published?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was fun. They would use it on the show a lot. Harvey thought that stuff was funny. My favorite
Yeah.
was asking him if he ever had to kick anybody out of class because they smelled horrible.
Well, and then Richard Simmons shortly thereafter kind of disappeared for years, right?
Yeah.
And so then he became a bit of a unicorn, and it was like, where is Richard Simmons? Like, we need, if you get video or pictures of Richard Simmons, it was worth a lot.
Oh, yeah.
But when they're a ubiquitous presence, they're not worth shit. And I had that experience with Gary Shandling. And I'll just go into this story real quick. The late, great Gary Shandling, if you remember the genius of the Larry Sanders Show, the guy was a cutting edge comedian. He was in Malibu every day. And he was also in Hollywood. He would go to Hollywood, and Chris Lance, one of the legends of TMZ, would shoot him. And I probably shot Gary Shandling 20 times and never published him, not once. And Gary he had some issues. You could tell he was under the influence of something, because he would always around 4 p.m. go to Starbucks and get a massive Frappuccino, a venti Frappuccino, and with like 20 pumps of extra syrup. And he would sit there and drink it, and it'd be spilling on his sweatshirt, and he was kind of unkept. He was a mess, disheveled, but and he was real bloated. Like his face was real red, and but the nicest guy. He even pitched like a show to us. We're sitting there in the parking lot, and Larry Sanders, the creator of the Larry Sanders Show, is sitting there pitching a show to Boris, a pap, and myself about a reality show about us. He's like, oh, what if we did this? And I'm like, that'd be great if you were kind of cognitive about what you're saying and what you're doing right now. But something's going to happen. Like, you're not doing too well, bud. Nicest guy, couldn't publish him for shit. And then when he died, it was like, it's over. No more Gary Shandling.
I mean, look, he had a heart attack, and you're telling me he would get a venti Frappuccino triple shot every day. No wonder. Jesus
every day.
Christ.
And he was you could tell he was likely pills. That's what I'm assuming, because I think when people take a lot of pills, they have a fascination with sweets.
Right.
But yeah, nice guy, but couldn't get him published. But when he died, it was like he became a legend.
Yeah, I liked him. I mean, I love the Larry Sanders Show, but I only tried to get him once at Kings Road Cafe, and he was one of those guys who liked it if you asked him ahead of time. Mm-hmm. So I didn't cam up. I just said, "Hey, Gary, interview today?" And he's like, "No, thanks, but I appreciate you asking."
Yeah.
I like that he's trying to pitch you on a pap reality show. Remember back in the day how we all kept saying they should do a show about us? That'd be so much more interesting. And they never did. They just wanted to keep portraying us as like the street cretins, when really we're good looking guys.
Yeah, and well spoken too, and educated. Yeah, I mean, it took a lot for us to be there for so long. You had to really be, you had to be responsible and diligent and productive and smart and witty and friendly and sociable and all those things. And which makes for good reality TV for sure. They should have branded us,
Yeah. Another guy, speaking of people and hair and looks and all that, we weren't really speaking about that, but I do not like what John Travolta is doing with his hair. I applaud his bravery to just go bald. I applaud it. I understand, for years he wore a hairpiece and he was trying to cover it up, and now he's just all into it. Doesn't work for me. I wish he would go back to the hair.
What's he doing to his eyebrows too? He kind of looks like Drake if Drake went bald. What is going on here?
Like now he's dyeing his beard. Like you gotta let the beard go gray. I think and he might need glasses. Like he's got to go full Steve Jobs, I think, because look at that. He looks like a possum. You know what I mean?
It looks like Yul Brenner on steroids.
Yeah, I just the head is perfectly nice and round, but he needs the glasses because he looks like a tiny little what are those things that pop their heads up out of the ground?
Like
a little mole.
a mole. Yeah, I mean, is it? I'm seeing Brando and Apocalypse Now.
Yeah,
it's Lex Luger, Lex Luthor, whatever, Superman. It's bizarre.
I mean, look, he didn't need like a jet black hairpiece like he was sticking with. Okay, here he looks just like a wax Scientologist figure or something like that.
That does look like a Madame Tussauds. I thought that was
But he or put some glasses on. You got to go for the Steve Jobs thing, then. If you're going to be bald with a beard, glasses, please. It's not great. I do like John Travolta. He's a nice guy. I've interviewed him once. I saw him at the old Barney's in Beverly Hills before it went bankrupt. I took the elevator up to check out the restaurant, and as soon as I walk out of the elevator, John Travolta's sitting there, and he's checking me out. I really think he was like eyeing me up and down, interested for sure. I don't know for what reasons.
We thought you were like one of his masseuses.
He was looking at maybe
you were a masseuse.
Maybe he saw some similarities. You know, I've been told I have a slight Travolta thing. If that's, by the way, my future, if this is my future, then I hope not. But so anyways, he sees me, and then I waited downstairs by the valet. When he came out, I got a nice interview with him. This was back when Nick Young, the basketball player, was on the Lakers, and he was doing like the Travolta shimmy after shooting 3-pointers. And Travolta was game. He talked about it. He gave a great soundbite. So I like Travolta, and I'm trying to help him.
Nice guy, sweetheart. I got him once also at in Brentwood at Trattoria. You know, the one that's on the corner of San Vicente, Trattoria.
Toscana.
Not Toscana. No, the one that's further down by the Country Mart. There's a restaurant, Italian restaurant in the corner. Anyway, we knew he was coming. So I had just started at TMZ. This was like 2011. And there was a fellow pap, Malibu Rich, and he shows up. Okay. He's a pap. Okay. But he's a video pap.
Yeah.
And, very interesting guy. He was in his seemingly mid 50s. Nice guy. He pulls up and was very friendly to me. I'm a new guy at TMZ, and he shows me that he was cooking while he was waiting for John Travolta. He was cooking fish on his carburetor. He had foil and then fish inside of it. And he's like, "Oh man, if you're ever, you're in the field a lot, all you need to do is take some foil, get a nice piece of fish from Ralph, save you some money, and then you just cook it on your carburetor and got nice fresh fish." He was sitting there eating fish out of a foil.
Jesus.
And I'm like, this is bizarre. Get me out of here. I don't know if I could take this. And I took it for 10 years.
That's what I'm saying. If they had given us a show, they could have shown like what we're like instead of that, which is what everyone thinks we're like. Cooking fish on a carburetor.
Cooking fish on his carburetor prior to a John Travolta gangbang interview. But Travolta came out, was a sweetheart, answered everybody's questions. It was shocking because he's A-list. Yeah. And then you have these C-listers that are like dodging questions, running around. And, I'm supposed to be scared because Jason Ritter gave me a no soundbite.
Hey, who's cooking that fish? It smells good.
Yeah.
Did he have his dogs? I don't remember that guy, Malibu Rich. He used to have like these like tiny, I don't know, greyhounds. They seemed like they were fighting to get out of the car. They were always scratching the back window.
Yeah, I recall that for sure. He had dogs, and there was nice guy though, Malibu Rich. Really a sweet guy.
He used to date Kris Jenner's sister.
Really?
Yeah, we were working the somebody's baby shower. It was probably Kim Kardashian's baby shower, like way back in the day for North. And everyone was there, and like Kris Jenner's sister comes out, and all the paps are across the street, and the field producers like us. And Malibu Rich is there, and he's like, "Hey, remember me? We used to date like 40 years ago." And she did. To her credit, Kris Jenner's sister did not be like, "What are you talking about?" But man, it just shows you the two ways that life can go.
Yeah, because Malibu Rich had he would show me photos of his old surfer days back in the South Bay, and great looking guy. You know, he was a handsome young lad. So yeah,
He probably looked.
kudos to Malibu. He's a legend. He's a
I'm
legend.
sure he didn't look. He looked a lot cooler cooking fish on his carburetor in like 1965. You know, the young surfer.
Yeah, man. Yeah, dude. It was a trip. It's a trip.
I'm just trying to see if there's anything else about the Oscars before we move on to another topic. Oh yeah, you mentioned that Nicole Kidman looked emaciated, and you know who else looked a little slim? You know, I don't normally do this, but I was a little surprised because all I will say is, Ozempic. They're all using it. The weight loss drug to the stars. I think Mindy Kaling might be their top customer. She has totally embraced it. She looks good. I'm happy, but you got to worry because every day I'm reading about Ozempic and the like side effects that it's giving people. It's giving people enlarged intestines, and I'm sure there's cancer risks and all that. Like, you got to be careful with these trendy designer drugs, please.
Yeah, is that the injection?
Yeah, I don't know if it's an injection or a pill. But, oh shoot, let me get back to it. But it's just everyone's doing it. I hope Nicole Kidman's not doing it. She doesn't have the space.
She doesn't need it. Yeah, she doesn't need it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she looks a little slimmer than usual. But you know,
yeah,
I've seen her in person. She's stunning in person.
Who's that? Nicole Kidman?
Yeah. This was 10 years ago, but
you know, and that's another A-lister who's surprisingly cool. Like, doesn't just stonewall you. She talks a little bit. I want to briefly touch on the travesty of the in memoriam segment.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up, dude. I am so glad you brought that up. I have two words that piss me off right now that I love. Beloved. William Hurt. That hurts. I can't believe that. I didn't see the in memoriam. I mean, 3 hours. You don't watch the whole event, but I did hear that William Hurt. I saw Michael Rappaport go off about it, and William Hurt is a legendary actor, one of the nicest guys I've ever interviewed. He sat and talked to me for 20 minutes after because I'm a huge fan of broadcast news. What Big Chill, all these movies in the 80s. He's a freaking amazing actor. And he gets left off. Why? I don't even think he had a political lean, but he must have said something at some point.
It was very strange. I'm actually surprised you said William Hurt. I thought you were going to say Paul Sorvino, who was also left off. But I'm glad you reminded me about William Hurt. I forgot. I've been so wrapped up in Paul Sorvino and Anne Heche.
Yeah, as an actor, I'll take William Hurt any day over Paul Sorvino. I mean, I know Paul Sorvino is an iconic Italian. I've interviewed him, decent guy, but no William Hurt in terms of acting.
Yeah, I mean, so William Hurt is left off, big star. Paul Sorvino, Goodfellas alone should get him in there. Anne Heche, I mean, 6 days, 7 nights, whatever else she
if
did.
These walls could talk.
Yeah, did
people, that not mean? Remember that she was married to freaking Ellen, and she did a movie where she was married to Sharon Stone. That was like an iconic,
She's more than earned her place in the in memoriam, and also, God, who was it?
There was a lot, right? Like, who else was there?
Oh, one of the girl who's in Triangle of Sadness, which is nominated for Best Picture. She's the star of it. She didn't, and she died right before the movie was released. She didn't make the in memoriam.
Really?
I don't know what the process is. Like, it's not like they forget, right? Or is there just one person who's super stressed out who has to put the in memoriam together while also supervising something else? That's my theory. Like, it literally is just one guy who's in charge of a multitude of different packages that they need for the Oscars.
No, these are deliberate exclusions. These are deliberate, slights. These are more than just slights. These are smack in the face for people. Even Tom Sizemore. I mean, he was great in Saving Private Ryan.
And Tom Sizemore, yeah.
These are actors. That's what they do. Their personal lives. I don't know what any of these people did. What did Paul Sorvino? Was he a conservative? Like, what has happened? I don't know.
All I can think is that Weinstein called in one last favor. He twisted one last arm because you remember Sorvino said he would beat Weinstein to death or something like that after the Me Too movement.
Yeah, he said it to TMZ's own Simon Lewis, right?
That's right. One of our colleagues in the parking lot of Bristol Farms, where I used to see him a lot. His widow, Dee Dee Sorvino, who now follows me on Twitter. Hopefully she'll see this. I don't know. She is up in arms, along with the whole Sorvino family, and rightly so.
Yeah,
that they would not include Paul Sorvino in there. It's just stupid. It really is.
I want to know the reasons they left them off, because these are calculated. These aren't errors. These aren't overlooks. These are the most famous names that passed away. Like these were all pretty. These deaths were sent shockwaves throughout social media when they happened.
There's a lot of names in there that you never heard of. And I get that we want to honor the below the line contributors as well. But, come on, just make it a minute longer then. Who cares? At this point, the Oscars went 34 minutes over, I think. Just 2 more minutes.
I did think that starting the Oscars earlier helped, because from what I recall was the Oscars always ended around 10:30, and they ended around 8:30. So I think they started them a little earlier.
It started them at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Mm-hmm. And of course, Sir Robert Blake was left out of the package, but
I'm okay with that.
Okay. You ever see him?
No.
He used to hang out up at the Beverly Glen Center, which is like a little celebrity enclave area in Bel Air. Yeah. I would see him a lot, because way before TMZ, when I used to just hang out with my friends up there, he would be walking around in a cowboy hat and just staring at everybody all the time. And this was after the murder.
I'd be freaked out by that guy, man.
Say what you want about OJ, but he at least is cheerful and jovial. Robert Blake was walking around like, you should have put me in jail.
Yeah. He murdered a guy.
Yeah, his wife, or he had killed her.
Oh man. That Beverly Glen, if you hang out there for 12 hours, you will see one celebrity. It's not a cornucopia of celebs, but you'll see one a day if you stick it out.
You'll see Gene Simmons, and I used to see Bruce Willis up there. I mean, you're not going to see him anymore, but
Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys.
Brian Wilson
goes there.
Janice Dickinson.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people. And at one time, Robert Blake. Okay. I think we've done enough Oscars. So let's move on to Bryan Kohberger. You're a big fan, I heard.
Hey, man. I think that Bryan Kohberger is innocent.
He has
until proven guilty.
It's weird, but you know what? Legally, you're correct. We should say that.
Exactly.
Some of his fellow inmates are giving us insight into his life in jail. According to the Daily Mail, he obsesses over TV coverage of his own case, has turned to God, and faces constant taunts from other prisoners. Let's see. He attends mass every Sunday now. Wow. I wonder, a guy like that, it's got to be a move. It's all part of, I'm not going to be nice to him in a way, innocent until proven guilty. Okay. We've said that. It's all alleged, no lawsuits. I think he's just going to church every Sunday because he's trying to set the stage of no, I'm a good God-fearing man, or even I've changed. It's a good hedge against getting the death penalty, because they're talking about bringing back the firing squad in Idaho. So he may be trying to say he's turned to God. He watches himself all the time. One inmate told DailyMail.com it's really kind of bizarre. Yeah, that tracks with what FBI agent Jennifer Coffindaffer was saying about how she thinks he was posting on Reddit and he was posting on Facebook groups about the case, and that he was following it. This is his baby. These 4 murders are his baby. He sits down with the pastor and receives his own private mass. It's just the 2 of them. And no, I have no idea what they might talk about, a source inside the jail said.
All right. I mean,
model prisoner. Yeah.
With Kohberger, is the evidence that strong against the guy? I mean, is it that strong that we've already publicly kind of.
Well, they collected a lot. They finally released the search warrant or whatever it was from when they arrested him at his parents' home, and they collected a lot there in addition to what they collected before.
The first time. The second time there was a little more like things that could be used, but was there blood? I mean,
I don't know if they found blood yet, but you never know. They could be withholding certain things as well for the trial. Kind of like the Murdaugh case. They withheld the information about Alex Murdaugh being caught on the Snapchat until he had already kind of hung himself by saying, no, I wasn't there. And then they had proof.
Yeah.
That's what did him.
It's going to be interesting. I wish this trial was starting sooner.
Yeah.
Because it's lost a little momentum because of the this pause here. But 6 months is not it's normal amount of time. But it's going to be interesting to see what kind of defense they have. There are a lot of anomalies in this case.
I agree with you. You know, just from a selfish standpoint, you really wish they could go straight from arrest into the trial because we're all used to things happening quickly. You know, we want to binge watch this thing. We don't want to sit there and have to wait for next season.
Yeah.
The real world.
Yeah, because there could be something else that's completely trumps this, you know?
Yeah.
There could be some other.
It has lost its luster. No offense to the families or anything like that, but just, you know, as a media evaluator, that's what I'm saying. Apparently he just sits there, stares straight ahead, doesn't move, always has the same expression or non-expression. I've never seen his eyebrows or mouth move. He never says anything. Said one inmate. They do call him a bitch.
Jesus.
But he barely flinched. He's like Kobe. You call him a bitch to his face, he doesn't even move.
Bryan Kohberger. Kobe beef. Yeah, I don't know, man. Any new theories on, you know, like the potential motive? Was he having an affair with you know, one of the
mentally maybe.
Right.
Mentally.
Yeah.
And you know, my theory from the beginning was always he learns all of this stuff. He's probably a bit of a psychopath, and he learns all of these tactics, and he studies serial killers in class, and he's possibly communicating with the BTK killer and all. And like, he wants to try, you know, he wants to get in the game. He can't just sit there and be an observer. He had to test it out himself, and he thought he was going to get away with it. For a while, it seemed like he was. But
yeah, it's just, I mean, how do you kill people, 4 people, one guy in 15 minutes? That's insane. Like, I don't know. It just seems like you'd have to be a professional assassin to go in there with your hands, you know, without a firearm and execute that. I guess because they were sleeping, they were, you know, under the influence, I guess. I mean, but plus the amount of blood. And I just think I personally think there would be more just like, you know, obvious evidence against him. I mean, there's a lot of evidence. The cell phone pings don't really, those aren't really too compelling for me, because I think that, okay, he's driving around, I don't know, you know, like the towers don't show exactly where you ping. It just pings within a 20-mile radius. I don't think that's that compelling. But, you know, the fact that he drove with his dad to Idaho after was a little weird. Like, you know, that was strange. Or to Pennsylvania. But I think that would be great if we got on the ground and on the ground coverage and went out there and got some video. I think we could really, you know.
Yeah, I mean, with trials
come June.
It's in June. I'm sure the weather's beautiful. And you know, I don't know how far we are from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Is that
it's like a 16-hour drive, you know? I looked at just do some freelance work out there, you know, for a week.
Let's do it. Let's
build up our social medias.
With his dad, they apparently planned that cross-country trip ahead of time. So like Even if he was like, "Nah, Dad, I think I'll just drive myself," it was probably like, "No, come on, Brian, I want to come and drive with you."
There's a sleuth, an online sleuth who has connected the guy. Remember they were talking about a mass shooting the first time they got pulled over in Indiana. They're like, the father, like,
Oh
oh, there was
yeah.
just a shooting on campus. That's why we're kind of driving fast and we're shooken up right now. We just found out. Well, the shooting was a guy that shot a former military Marine who shot himself. And apparently they're linking him to the murder somehow. Some of these online sleuths. So there's theories revolving around that. And his last photo was ICU. And it's his eye. Like, it's just a picture of his eye. It's a Facebook post. And it says ICU. And apparently people are saying that they see the house where the murders took place in his eye. I don't necessarily see that, but there's people that are actually pixelating the image and making it say like, hey, that's the house, so there's theories that he may have worked with that guy, that he
I've
knew
fallen
him.
behind, but I did hear that maybe that guy was involved, and then he like killed himself.
Not to plug
Suicide
other
by cop or something.
not to plug other YouTubers, but there's a guy named Crime Circus. He's been covering this extensively, and he's the one that kind of made that connection. And he's a very bizarre. He dresses like a clown. He wears like makeup.
I've seen clips of that guy.
Oh, you see that guy? Yeah, and he's actually his analysis. It's pretty good.
It's
But
pretty good.
if you can get past the look,
Does he need a guest? I'll come on Crime Circus.
Right, yeah. Reach, dude. Reach out, man. Reach out.
Speaking of a crime circus, how about this Alec Baldwin case? Am I right? Let's do this real quick, and then before we wrap it up, the special prosecutor stepping down. It's a wish come true for Alec Baldwin.
They could have used a better pick of Alec. That's one of the worst picks of Alec Baldwin I've ever seen.
Well, we know Alec Baldwin. I mean, I'm not going to speak for the motivations of our former boss, but all I'll say is this. For like 7 straight years, every time I heard Alec Baldwin go on, say, Howard Stern, he would take the time to talk about how much he hates Harvey Levin. He would talk about how I saw interviews where he talked about how he fantasized the way that he would kill Harvey.
Oh my God.
Him, and he would just hold him and choke the life out of his eyes and then say, Harvey, you rude, thoughtless little pig, as the life left his eyes. So jeez. I don't know. I'm not speaking for them, but maybe that has something to do with the less than flattering photo.
Yes, it does.
And I'm sure he's not happy with him. I'm sure Alec is not happy with him nor the whole operation at this point.
Yeah. So we get the DA stepping down, huh? New Mexico.
Andrea Reeb, the special prosecutor, she's been under fire from Alec's team, with the defense calling for her to step down because Baldwin's camp has argued that her trying the case while also being a state legislator in New Mexico violates the state's constitution. And they got their wish Tuesday when she announced she was stepping down from prosecuting him. In a statement, Reeb says, after much reflection, I have made the difficult decision to step down as special prosecutor in the Rust case. My priority in this case, and in every case I've prosecuted in my 25-year career, has been justice for the victim. It seems like she was really pushing, if I'm correct, she was the one who overcharged him in the first place with the enhancement charge, the weapon enhancement charge, which is the thing that was going to give him the automatic 5 years in jail. And then once they had to drop that, because it actually wasn't even in effect at the time that the shooting occurred, it kind of sucked the wind out of their sails a little bit, because Alec then could have just been sentenced to probation or I don't know, community service. So it's looking good for Alec. It's looking good for him not going to jail. Like, he still might be convicted of something, but I don't think he's going to do any jail time anymore. I think that this woman really wanted to get him. It does give me a little bit Kobe Bryant 2003 Colorado vibes, where that blonde-haired prosecutor really wanted to get Kobe. And truthfully, I don't remember the specifics of the Kobe case. I have never gone to look back at it. It's been years.
Yeah.
But I just remember at the time, it seemed obvious that they really wanted to get him. They really wanted to convict Kobe. Maybe because he's a celebrity. And that might be going on here.
Yeah. You get a hell-bent prosecutor, that could happen. I mean, and that hence why maybe he was overcharged there because, you know, what about the armorer, the girl,
she also had the gun enhancement charge dropped. So I think
wow.
she is at least probably not facing jail either. And she's a Republican, and Baldwin is famously a passionate Democrat.
So yeah, could be a conflict of interest there.
Yeah, I mean that could have motivated her. You know, she might not be perfect.
I mean, Baldwin's Trump's worst enemy.
Yeah, I am happy that they're going to finish the film because prior to the shooting, I was interested in Rust. You know, Alec Baldwin as an Australian gunslinger in the Old West. I'm sure it wasn't going to be a great film, but it would have been an interesting film.
Yeah, yeah. I've been on that set before in New Mexico. I've worked on a movie there. It was, what was it called? It was a WWE picture that had like 4 different names. It was with Ethan Embry. Who was the wrestler in that one? Oh, it was John Cena. It's called Blood Brothers, and then they changed the name. They changed the name to something else. All for Nothing, or I don't know. But I was on that same set, and you know there was explosions.
Where they shot Rust.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yes. Yeah. Spent weeks on that set. It was from driving from Albuquerque every morning to the Santa Fe area. There's a little town called Madrid on the way. It's a really beautiful area, and it's crazy because it would be like you'd show up on set at like 7 a.m. and it would be 32 degrees, and then it would warm up in the mid-afternoon to about 75, 80, and you know, with sun that feels like 100 degrees.
Yeah,
it's long days, and I mean, it's, you know, definitely if you feel like you're in the West, you know, so it's an authentic place to shoot. Really, really cool area. But I never heard the term armor. Like, I worked on a lot of movies. It was always just the special effects department. And now all of a sudden it's like the armory, you know, there was never like a guy that was just in charge of the guns. It was just like the whole effects team was in charge of all of the special effects. Like pyrotechnics is part of the effects team, you know, but now it's like the armor. He's a famed armor. I was like, where did this come from? It's like a Mandela effect.
I've never heard of it either.
Right.
Do you ever get Baldwin?
I got Baldwin. He never talked, you know, but I saw him in he would walk around Bedford with his strollers and stuff, and but he would just very grunting, mean, and, you know, unapproachable. I did not shoot him. I would just see him, you know. I was like, I'm not shooting that guy. I'm not getting close to that guy.
I tried a couple times. He didn't give me much. I do love when he was yelling at that one pap on Bedford, though. Getting in his face like, you're a piece of garbage.
Yeah. Those interactions are funny. Yeah. He's like, don't touch me. When he's coming out of his apartment in New York, he's like, don't touch me. And no one was touching him. No one was even close. He's like, don't touch me.
He used to get so mad. And then remember he tried to put, I think we can swear on YouTube again. I think we get like a couple good curse words on YouTube now. So he was trying to call the guy. Well, you know what? I'll clean it up just a little bit.
Yeah.
He gets out of his car and he goes, "You sea sucking."
Oh my God.
You know, and then he tried to say, "No. I was saying sea sucking fathead, not fathead."
So he actually tried to backtrack. And
he tried to be like, "No, fathead. We all use that as an insult."
Okay, buddy. All right. Speaking of people being rude on Bedford, you know who was very, very rude always to me and to all paparazzi and fans? The sweetheart of the Oscars herself, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh, God.
What a bee. Man. And her husband, Christopher Guest. I remember when I first got to TMZ, I saw Christopher Guest, who I'm a huge fan of. Like, I loved his movies. Well, I love the movies still. But I mean, ever since his first film, he was the six-fingered man in Princess Bride. He used to write for SNL. Then he went on to Best in Show, Waiting for Guffman, A Mighty Wind. He was a genius behind those mockumentaries. This is Spinal Tap. I'm a huge fan of those movies. In particular, Waiting for Guffman, where he plays Corky St. Clair, a closeted gay theater director in Blaine, Missouri.
Yeah.
He cussed me out so bad. I'm like, oh, Christopher Guest, I'm a huge fan, man. Waiting for Guffman, man. What a great movie, man. I work for TMZ. What's up, bud? And he cussed me out. He said, don't you ever stick a camera in my blanking face ever again, you stupid mother, you piece of shit. I'm like, what? I was just sitting here telling you you're my idol. And then I said one of his famous lines. As he walked away. I just said, well, I'm going to go home and bite my pillow. Because that's a famous line from Waiting for Guffman. And we all know what that means. I didn't mean it literally, or what it means metaphorically. But I just wanted to quote that just to show. And that was the last thing I ever said to Christopher Guest.
Oh, he didn't turn around like, fuck
no,
you.
He didn't even turn around because I thought I was going to get some kind of reaction from him, like a laugh. Like, dude, I'm quoting your film and I'm quoting this obscure line from one of your obscure films. But yeah, they don't appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm very happy that the Oscar season is over. Award season is over because I had enough of Jamie Lee Curtis and her enthusiasm for everyone else. She's such a fake. She's one of those people. When we would see her, you don't even really care. You just put the camera up because you're like, whatever, it's Jamie Lee. And then she just reacts in horror, like, oh god, no.
Yeah.
Oh, she's one of those.
Yeah, she would turn around. She would run. She used to run because she was always on Bedford in the mornings. Like she had yoga studio there or whatever, and she would just run from you. She would yell, and it was just this is not that big of a deal, lady.
You monster! Yeah,
you've been in Hollywood your whole life. You should be able to react to it with grace, like the way Shaquille O'Neal does. Shaquille O'Neal's 7'3". He's fine with it. You can see him everywhere. He's like, "What up, man? What up, man? What up? Give me a soundbite." Even Tom Cruise could handle, the press.
You know who else was fine with it and was a good interview on Bedford, who I miss, was Ernest Borgnine.
Oh, Borgnine, really? You saw him on Bedford?
He was still alive when I first started back in 2012.
Shit.
He used to be there all the time coming out of the medical building. And then
God,
I got an interview with him. He was he had a few years before been on Good Morning America or something, where they said, what's the secret to the long life, Ernest? Because he was in his 90s. And he's like, well, I masturbate a lot.
No way. He said that?
Yeah. So he said that on Good Morning America or something.
Yeah, Borgnine is a legend, man.
This guy, when he looked see him with the hat, he looked like that. And he's on talking about, I masturbate a lot. So I see him coming down Bedford. I'm asking him questions. It's going nowhere. And I'd say, Ernest, you said that the secret to a long life was masturbating a lot. And he's like, oh, just stop it. Get out of here. And I was like, well, how do you do it? You use a computer? What do you do? You kind of, he's like, oh, I get that. I said, are you still doing it though? And he goes, of course. You want to stay alive, don't you?
He said that? Yeah. Oh, that's incredible. Did that run?
Yeah, that ran, but it's one of those great clips that's lost to history because they just don't archive those old TMZ TV clips. They're not on YouTube. They're nowhere. They're just sitting in the Dalit system.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. But great movie of his. My favorite movie of Borgnine is Marty. Great movie. If you ever have a chance to watch it, it's timeless.
Is that the one
enjoy it today?
He got the Oscar for that?
It won Best Picture. I don't know if he got Best Actor, but it's an incredible movie. It's there's a famous line from it, what do you want to do today, Marty? I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know, Marty. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? They're just that's the iconic scene, but it's a great movie about a guy that lives with his mom and is trying to find love, and I think it still transcends to today. It's a great film.
You want to masturbate, Marty?
Yeah. That's a legendary, man. Yeah, the most legendary guy I saw in Bedford was Kirk Douglas. I saw him. It was wild. 100 years old. He was 100, getting wheeled out of the medical building. And man, those doctors in Bedford must be fucking good. Sorry, pardon my French, but
it was hard to interview him. I saw him on Bedford once too, and he was ready to talk, but he'd had that stroke years before, and you couldn't really follow the conversation.
Yeah. You just roll B-roll.
I masturbate a lot. Before we wrap it up, let's just revisit a classic moment from Bedford. This is a street in Beverly Hills where all the doctors' offices are. It used to be a massive photographer hotspot because there were A-listers. This is where Michael Jackson would get his pills. This is before my time, but Michael Jackson would always be there getting his pills and chopping it up with the paps. So very famous street, and this is where Alec Baldwin had one of his great blow-ups at a pap who we knew. I won't give his name because he probably doesn't want it out there, but I would see this guy around. It's just so funny.
Love that guy.
It's probably going to be an ad. I love it. It's just anytime Alec Baldwin, anytime you take him off enough to just lose it, it's hilarious. All right.
You want, boss?
No, thanks.
Got that? I said you got that? Shut up! I said shut up! Stand here, touch your ass.
Oh, wait, I thought he yelled that. Wait, is that it?
Well,
I thought he yells, "You're a piece of garbage."
You got it right in his face. And that pap, I was at the gym one time, okay, in Malibu. I was on a break, and so I went to the gym on a break. And I'm sitting there on the unicycle, and I get a call from David Charvet from Baywatch. And he says, there's this guy, and he used a descriptive word to describe him. And he said, there's this guy who's harassing my wife. And he described that pap. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that guy's, so-and-so. And he's like, anyway, you know who that is? Can you call him and tell him to quit harassing my wife? He's following her around the Country Mart. And I'm like, yeah, so he used to ruffle some feathers. That guy.
Oh, God. Yeah, he's one of those guys. And others, there's a woman in Beverly Hills, pap. I won't name her because, who knows, she seems like a lawsuit happy freak. But she would just go right up to tables and just put a camera right in, like while people are eating, just have the camera right there, oblivious to any etiquette or norms.
Are we talking about the former superhero? What? She was a, yeah. All right. Well,
gotcha. Yeah, it's just like made it very hard to work with. Again, why didn't they give us a show so that people could see how relatively normal we are? Compared to that, at least
it would have been a very entertaining show. It would have been, yeah,
piece of garbage. I wish Alec Baldwin got in that person's face. All right, is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything we need to cover? We've gone over an hour, almost an hour.
Yeah, I think we've gone plenty of time. I think the viewers are going to be happy with this one, and like I said, man, it's always an honor to be here. There's always next time, Dante, to cover more, and we'll see what develops, right?
Absolutely. Let me play my outro and just hang there for 1 second. Thank you, everybody. Joe Andaloro, thank you, former TMZ producer extraordinaire. And it's been a great show.
Thank you.
Have a good life. We will see you soon.
Much love.
Thank you.
Love.
All right, Daniel.
So once again, thank you to my brother. Tell him your name again.
Dante Greco.
2 words. Made in America.
Dante, you're doing great.
That's good. I know anybody over in my life. It's from.
Listen, I want you to lead my good friend Ringo.
My pal Hal. Have a good day.